Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Summer Careers Festival, giving you a summer of career advice workshops delivered by Lyfeproof and WMCA. Our Find Your Future campaign is led by young people, and it's all about our voices and our needs. And with 23,000 young people, all under 25, coming out of employment after furlough and having no educational training, it's really important for our voices to be at the forefront of this campaign and for us to really start talking about the kind of support that we want. So today we are here at the Power of Education workshop, and I'm joined by some people who work in the creative industries. So we have a few guests from Access Creative College, from Think Higher, and from the Brilliant Club Ambassador. So if you guys would like to introduce yourselves.
Shall I start? Hi,
Yes, please, Gemma.
I'm Gemma, and I work as an engagement officer for Access Creative College. Access is an independent training provider based in 7 cities, across the UK, and we offer courses all to do with things like music, media, games, and events, and things like that. So, yeah, I'll be answering questions about that if you've got any.
Awesome.
Hi, I'm Lucas. I'm one of the student ambassadors from Access Creative College. I study studio and live sound, but I also own a media company called Madlands Media, which focuses all around supporting the local music scene in the Midlands and helping young creatives get their name out into the industry.
Great, thank you.
Hi, I'm Emma. My role sits across 2 organisations. The first is Think Higher, and they're part of a national programme called UniConnect. The programme seeks to increase the number of students from underrepresented groups moving on to higher education. And then the other company that I represent is the Careers Hub. And we are again part of a national programme, and we seek to link schools with employers to improve careers programmes and outcomes for young people.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Hannah, and like Emma, I've got a couple of different hats on here. I'm the Young Trustee at the Brilliant Club, and the Brilliant Club is an charity that's aiming to help get more people from underrepresented backgrounds into higher education. But then in my day job, I'm an editor at Penguin Random House UK, and I work mostly with underrepresented authors as well in that capacity.
Great, thank you all for being here today. And I think that really ties in nicely to my first question. So you will work in like further and higher education. What do you feel like the value of that is for us young people coming into or looking to get into further education?
For me, the value of what we do at Access Creative is seeing young people thriving in an environment that's very unlike mainstream education. So, you know, it's watching young people coming in to study things that they've got a passion for, and watching them just completely change. You know, it changes everything. It changes their whole outlook. It changes their, you know, it gives them opportunities that you wouldn't normally, you know, expect. And yeah, obviously in that supportive environment where you're taught by industry professionals as well. So Lucas is one of our students, and I'm sure Lucas might echo the sorts of things that I'm saying, with how, you know, being in the right environment, the right educational environment can have such a positive impact on young people's futures.
Yeah, I mean, to add to that, going to creative college as someone who wasn't quite fond of education in the first place is a massive game changer. Like when you start to study something you love, with being able to speak to people like the tutors who do work hands-on in the industry, you're able to kind of not only learn firsthand on like practical work and everything, but you're also able to kind of get an idea of where you can go forward and where your career can go. So it's great.
Yeah, I can actually attest to that with Access Creative College, because that's where I went to college myself. Yeah, I went before you changed the name, but yeah, I'm very much aware of the way that that it really helped me 1,000%. I've always been a musician, but I never really knew where to direct that or how to direct that energy. And I feel like for myself personally and a lot of people that I had in my class, it changed the whole way that we look at further education. A lot of people who had no intention of going on to university went through going to Access. So I really, really get that, and always appreciate what it did for me. So yeah, that's just me little chiming in there.
That's wonderful to hear. That's so wonderful to hear. I think the thing that we always say about Access, which one did you study at? Which of our centres did you study at?
Birmingham.
Yeah, you studied with us.
Yeah, I did.
Access to music. Yeah, I think we always say, don't we, Luke? It creates a sort of creative community. You've got everybody might be doing a different pathway, but once you get that room full of people all with the same end goal of creating something, whether it's a song or media company or graphic design projects and things like that, it sparks something exciting, and it just means that there's opportunities that wouldn't normally happen. And it's for me, as an engagement officer, it's inspiring to watch, and that's why it's I love being able to tell young people about these opportunities that that are there for you when you may have written off education completely.
It's great to hear. Do any of you, Hannah or Emma, have anything to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of echoing what Gemma's saying there about seeing young people thrive in a different environment. I think for me, one of the key things about being part of outreach is about instilling that confidence in young people that higher education actually is for them. And I mean, I've got a lot of respect for what the Brilliant Club do as well, Hannah, so I'm sure you're going to echo some of these things as well. But the power really of outreach companies to work together as well on their shared goals, and all with the inspiration of looking at young people and actually what they can achieve in the future. But yeah, in terms of getting young people out there into these places, I think it's great for them to see themselves in those environments. And we don't look at it from just a creative point of view, just in general, getting them into HE. But yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I love working in outreach, really, is just watching those young people, their mindsets change.
Thank you. It's really something that I see a lot when it comes to people just coming into any sort of higher education, and we also do outreach with Lyfeproof. So I see the change in people as soon as they realize that there is an opportunity there, full stop, period. I think when you have that opportunity in front of you, you take it for granted sometimes, and we don't realize the amount of young people who don't have those opportunities and aren't aware of them existing. So we're as grateful to these companies like all of yours that are here to genuinely help us find those roots into something better. Thank you. So what doors do you feel like higher education can open for young people? Like, outside of just being able to go to uni, are there any other things that we can experience after or through higher education?
I want to take this off. Going into higher education, I think it's great because there are obviously the opportunities to go to university, like from college, but sometimes for some people that isn't like the option, or they don't particularly want to do that. For myself, I had the opportunity to start up a media company, which I didn't even know I wanted to do in the first place. I just kind of started talking to some of my classmates, and like here we are. But you just kind of get to meet other people and kind of see where everyone else is, what everyone else is doing and where they're going, and you get the opportunity to kind of explore new avenues other than what you're doing, like other than what you're studying. Because like I was studying sound engineering, but I kind of then further learned like that's not particularly what I want to go into, but it also helped me find that path towards where I want to go.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say something quite similar about it's so much more kind of rounded than just what you're studying as well. Like the kind of what you were mentioning before as well about how it creates community, kind of being able to study in a place where it's such a unique environment that you're kind of somewhere where everyone there is kind of hopefully studying something that they really love and is kind of getting to spend a lot of their time and energy on that cultivating that passion and that curiosity, and to kind of be around other people while you're doing that yourself, I think is something that kind of stays with you long after your kind of time in higher education, and is something that is really important in so many other aspects of your life as well, and is something that you can then kind of apply to things kind of outside of what you're studying. So either hobbies that you've kind of started at university, or ones that you had before, or other higher education places as well. And I think kind of that environment of kind of being able to come in and try something totally new, like that's something that is kind of really encouraged, that you can study subjects that you haven't ever learnt before, and then outside of that you can join clubs you've never even heard existed before, and it's quite a unique environment to be able to do some of those things. And I know a lot of people who've kind of gone on into careers that again they wouldn't have had no clue existed or was like a path for them, not just because of what they studied, but because of the kind of groups that they were part of outside of that, the communities that they entered, the kind of way they were able to lean into that curiosity and passion. So I think it's just a really kind of precious time to be able to have this period that's just about kind of following what makes you excited.
I'd just like to add to that as well. I mean, when you're in that sort of the right environment for you, it's not just about the skills that you're learning on the course. It's about the skills that you're developing, you know, through confidence and you know, perseverance and all that kind of thing, and those transferable skills as well. You know, working alongside other people and those things that, you know, we all need in life. And you know, and being in that sort of environment where you've got that support from other people, and you know, you're not afraid to take a risk and things like that. So like Lucas said, Lucas was studying a studio and live sound, but has realized that that's not the area that they want to go into. But all of those skills and the knowledge that's been picked up while studying that has then enabled Lucas to progress into the next steps that they're going to move on to. And you know, it's just that important thing to realize that education isn't just about doing exams or having to do that passive type of learning where you just sit in taking stuff in. Education is also about experiences and opportunities and exploration and that sort of thing, but also having the guidance of people who can point you in the right direction, or maybe, you know, pick you up or give you advice if something's not quite going your way. You know, it's a whole lot more than just sitting in a class listening to somebody talking at you and writing an essay.
I think that's a really good point. A lot of, like, coming out of school age as well, specifically, most young people don't have an idea what it's going to be like to move into further education, or have any idea like whether it's going to be the same kind of setup as school. And I think it's great that you guys have mentioned the fact that it is more that you gain a network, and that you've got the opportunity to gain those transferable skills, and that it's not that typical environment all of the time. Especially if you study something creative, you've got so much space to do basically not what you want to do, but like within the confines of learning, but you've got a lot more space and freedom to explore yourself, and even freedom to jump from a course to something else that really benefits what you're after. So yeah, it's great that you guys have honed in on those points specifically. Like, thank you. So the next question is, what are some of the barriers for young people when it comes to getting into further education, and what are some ways that we could help remove them?
I think this is something that's really, really key to, especially what the access and education for Think Higher are looking at, and the whole Uni Connect programme. Barriers is such a big thing for young people, and it really does vary as well around the country even. So we're based in Coventry in Warwickshire, And even though Coventry borders Warwickshire, the barriers that students face in Coventry can be very, very different to the barriers that students face in Nuneaton, which is a 5-10 minute drive away. And so I think it's really important to be aware of that, you know, the location is such a big part of the barriers that are placed on students. But I mean, one that we face quite a lot in this area is social mobility, and actually students having the confidence to leave where they grew up. And where they grow up can be a very, very small place for some students. Like I say, even going down the road can be such a big thing. And something that Think Higher are looking at the moment is actually breaking down the barrier of space and having that safe space to learn in, to research your next options, to just do your homework in, really. And I think that's a really key thing that, like I said before, about providers coming together to be able to offer that space to young people. And I think employers have a really huge role to play here as well in opening their doors up to students. Appreciate that's been really hard this year, but I think that can really help break down some of those barriers for students, being able to see what an actual workplace looks like, and being able to visualize themselves there as well.
Right.
I'd just like to echo what you said about how workplaces should kind of need to take a part in this, in opening up the doors for students, because like going into kind of, especially for like this kind of industry and the creative industries, it's really hard for a young person to kind of stick their foot in the door in the first place, because if you like at a younger age, below maybe the age of like 21, 22, between the ages of like 16 and 21, 22, you're underestimated. I've found that this generation is highly underestimated, and sometimes I've seen some amazing work come out of kind of my local scene and my local music scene. From people of that age, they're some of the most open-minded and interesting and hardworking people, because they have to work that bit harder to get their foot in the door. So if the opportunity was there, then I think people would strive more to go into it, because it wouldn't be as hard.
I think that's a really good point about kind of seeing how things work kind of from the workplace level, also thinking about the school level, that all of these kind of different parts are very, very interconnected. With the Brilliant Club, something that kind of impacted the way that our programs work. So we run a lot of kind of extracurricular programs with schools, and we basically found that kind of having those start really, really early, so in like year 7 or year 8, is able to combat some of that kind of later in school like feeling that actually higher education isn't like for you, like you're not the type of person who would be able to go there. Sometimes even combating teacher expectations for students as well as just the general schools feeling about kind of what types of people are able to get to university, and you know, how much support that they put into that and how much they actually give students. It can be really disappointing that, you know, because of systemic barriers, that they can kind of tend to believe that there might be types of students that can go and types of students that can't go, which is completely untrue. And there's definitely so many students who are like underestimated from quite early on. And so I think that's part of why with our work we try and make that intervention happen really early, before some of those like kind of negative belief systems come in, and also to make sure that that's teachers across the whole school and, you know, kind of every age group is kind of being given access to this information and about the opportunities that are there, and the ways that you can kind of be supporting students from the very beginning of school to kind of have the self-belief, believe that they can see themselves in those places, also believe that it's something that's relevant and interesting to them. Because again, kind of if it's not something that you see people who you think are similar to you or like people you look up to doing, then of course it's not something you're going to imagine for yourself. So I think it's, again, just trying to kind of instill that confidence and just give that as an opportunity. Again, it's not like a kind of this is what you have to do and like this is the path we've decided is correct for you, but just to be able to kind of have options from very young, kind of see all these different options as available to you. I
think one of the things that would help younger people sort of feel more like, you know, university is accessible, is if we sort of stopped seeing it as an academic institution and see it as a place where it's just an extension of you, and a place where you can extend your skill knowledge, rather than you have to be a certain academic level in order to reach university. You know, you don't necessarily have to move away to go to university. You don't even have to go to a specific university to do these higher level courses. It should just be seen as a progression and a development of, you know, the skills and the knowledge that you want to learn. Going with what you were saying, Hannah, about you know, young people, they're sort of labelled from such a young age. I come from a background of working in a primary school, and, you know, you're assessing 4-year-olds on what they're going to be capable of doing at 11, and, you know, and they know that, they know what your you know, your targets for them are, and it just it stops them from progressing, because, you know, we force so much on things like maths and English and being able to write a story or do sums, and you take away all that creative element of, you know, being creative. I always say this, it's not just about being able to produce a picture or write a song. It's a problem solving strategy. It's a way of thinking. It's looking at things with a, you know, with a different viewpoint, and that is probably the most important thing that you can, you know, skill that you can nurture, than, you know, than being able to, you know, I can relate the whole history from 1990 1920 to 2021. You know, it's that. Obviously learning is important, but people learn in different ways. We are all taught that when we are doing teacher training and things like that, and then you don't get to actually apply it within a classroom, and it has such a detrimental effect to young people's mindsets that then it stops them. They just stop then, because you put into sets ranging with ability, but not ranging on your creative levels, or, you know, the way that you work in a team, or, you know, what you can turn that box into, or, you know, or your adaptability in, you know, turning your hand to something new. You know, and I just think that's always been for me, you know, quite an issue with the way that things are. So, you know, when you can get that opportunity to actually allow people to realize that there are other options other than school, A-levels, university, job, you know, it's a pathway, it's a journey, it's an experience, and it's really important to push that, you know, that information out there, you know, get that to people to know.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that I tend to rant on about in my personal life, just the way that the education system, especially when it comes to the school system, has no guidance for people who aren't like atypical when it comes to the way that they think or the way that they learn. And for me personally, I've got ADHD that wasn't like noticed until I got older. So I really, really struggled. And it was going to places like Access and being around creative people that managed to make me even get outside of that. And I never bothered with university for this exact same idea that it's academic. And to me, having to write a personal statement was it was like, oh, that's where I stopped. I was like, I can't do that. And no one really gave me guidance on how to change that. And I feel like that's something that is so daunting. And there's definitely a way for it to be less daunting, but we as young people don't know what that is yet. It's kind of why we're here today, I guess, to have these conversations and make it less scary. So moving forward, how could we install like a love of education within people like me? Like, I love to learn, but that took me having to find something I'm really passionate about and just dive head in. But is there a way that we can make people passionate about the idea of learning, or just the idea of continuing on with something once they get out of further education?
I think the first kind of point, in my opinion, is to give them space to kind of express themselves, to give young people space and room to discover who they are. Because I think in school, in secondary school, you kind of, I went to a Catholic school. I was a queer kid that went to a Catholic school, so I was massively suppressed, couldn't express myself at all, so didn't know where I wanted to go with life. I didn't have room to kind of explore that. And I think at that age, when you're growing and adapting the most, it's vital that young people have that room to kind of grow so they can learn what they love, what they don't love, how they can go forward and where they can go forward into what they want to do. And when I went to Access, it dramatically changed because I had so much room to adapt. There were so many people like me that I could kind of get on with, understand, and just kind of find different ways in not one I found like what I wanted to do, but also you find different ways in like how to do it as well. Because I'm not a massively academic person myself, so I never understood much in school. So it is also like finding hands-on ways that help rather than just sitting down and listening to someone talk at you for 2 hours.
Definitely.
I think it's really interesting, Lucas, that you're setting up your own business as well, and that you mentioned that was something that you never even thought would be something you'd be interested in, because I think about this question, encouraging entrepreneurialism in students is something that just isn't done enough. And giving students projects to focus on and start something from scratch on their own or as a team can really help them understand what it is that they're interested in. And if you have to create, a project or a product that you've come up with yourself, you might realize that actually I really enjoy doing the marketing for this, and maybe this is the area that I want to go into. But in order for them to start to really think about that, they need to be invested in that idea, and getting them to come up with it from scratch is a really good way of getting them invested in it. So I really wish that schools would do more in encouraging young people to think like an entrepreneur and setting them projects, and it not just being about listening and filling in a textbook or getting them to their GCSEs, but actually it's about having an all-rounded project that they can focus on.
I think as well with that, it like gives them space to, as you say, like realize, oh, this is something that I actually really like to do. But it also kind of gives them space to. Oh, I'm sorry, my point's gone. It's gone.
It's okay.
I was gonna just comment on what Emma said. So I mean, I mentioned before my background was working in a primary school. When you work with foundation stage children, for example, so your 4-year-olds, everything's exploratory. So they find a little, a bit of ice on the playground, and you turn a whole day into, all different things to do with ice. Then the next thing you know, they're in year 1 or year 2, and it's all about, you've got to sit and write this passage, you've got to sit and do this. The exploration aspect just disappears. But in that 1 year where they're able to do that sort of thing that they want, you can see who they are possibly, the things that interest them. And if that was the way that it continued throughout, the school life, this would be a whole different, everything would just be a whole different ball game. You would know from such a young age about, the things that you were interested in. The whole thing of the careers and education, it feels so rushed. When you finish school at GCSE, you've got to start on a pathway into a job that you want to do. Well, what? I mean, you ask any young person, they only know about 10 jobs. They're all working towards that, being a doctor, a hairdresser, a mechanic, a teacher. It shouldn't be about that. It should be, what are your interests? What do you like? How can you turn that into something you love doing? Because we all know, you're going to have so many different jobs in your life, and that's okay. And it's learning from that. Everything that you do, all those experiences lead you to, lots of different opportunities and different chances. I don't keep saying that word a lot, but it's true. You don't have to do, there's not one pathway to one job. This is explore, find who you are, find what you love, and make that into your job or your career or whatever it is. Do it that way.
100%.
Yeah, I'm gonna come in with my publishing hat on again here, because obviously I believe books are really important, and stories in general I think are very important, because they kind of allow you to have a glimpse into other people's lives, and also to imagine different futures for yourself, and different ways of being. So whether that's within books or maybe in films, TV, and other forms of kind of media that connect with you. But I think something that is really, really important and should be kind of really focused on was kind of what representation looks like in those spaces at the moment. So I work on a campaign called Lit in Colour, which is aiming to diversify the English curriculum kind of from primary school all the way through to sixth form, because the stats at the moment are absolutely like shocking for the number of books that young people read by a woman, by any people of colour, by anyone queer. Like, it's really, there's such terrible representation at the moment, and I think that's true across all of the creative industries. So I think that's something that's really, really important to focus on, is that kind of with what young people are able to consume, they need to be able to see themselves represented and see the reality of what kind of our society currently looks like actually represented, to kind of allow them to relate to that and feel a connection to kind of to what they're reading, and because I think if you're able to kind of instill that early on, then that's something that can stay with you forever, that kind of curiosity and love and kind of joy for different art forms that are going to continue teaching you, like whether you're in a school setting or in a university setting or in a job setting. Like, that's something that's kind of outside, that's continuing to kind of evolve your learning and mean that you're kind of constantly developing and constantly like taking on new ideas, exploring new ideas. So that's something that I'm really passionate about, is that kind of representation being key the whole way through.
Oh, definitely. I feel like that is something that's very, very important, especially like for me growing up. The representation was lacking completely. Like, one of my favorite books is by someone called Mallory Blackman, and it's called Noughts and Crosses. I read that to my whole English class when I was in 10 or something, because I was so much more interested in that than what I was supposed to be learning in my lesson. And I feel like a lot of the time we don't get that experience of anything that actually represents us, and even in terms of generationally what we consume. It was written like in Old English. We don't care. Like, as if I can tell you, we don't care about what Shakespeare said anymore. We don't. We need to move with the times a lot when it comes to, like, I'm 25. I'm now thinking the people who are in school are 10 years younger than me. They genuinely don't care about what I was learning about. So there needs to be some like intervention, I guess, that comes in when it comes to like education in schools, so that it does drive people to want to further their education, whether it's by themselves or going into a like higher institution. So yeah, thank you guys about that. That was great. So the next question is, do you have any examples of student success stories? So people who have come through your institution and really got the best out of it.
We have many.
I know Access does. You have plenty.
We have many. In fact, I think Lucas could probably explain a few that are quite relevant right now, being right in the music scene. Do you want to go ahead there, Lucas?
Yeah, I know a couple of people. There's a guy that used to go to Access a couple of years ago called Ewan Woodman, and he's the drummer in a local band called The Nova. And since he's left Access, he's gone and done some great things. They did a headline show in Paris a couple of years ago. They've been played on BBC Radio 1. They've just released their debut EP. There's another guy called Al Sam, once again doing amazing things. He played one of the side stages. I think it was at the Birmingham Arena. There's just so many amazing people coming out of the college, and I think Access Birmingham's a great example because there's an amazing music scene in Birmingham through Digba.
We've also got current students as well. Obviously, Lucas is one of them that set up their own business, but quite a few of the students that, the entrepreneurship that you were mentioning earlier, Emma, it is something that is quite well driven within within our establishment, you know, the students are encouraged to be using their skills and utilising their skills into businesses and things like that. We've actually got a student who has won a BAFTA for a game that they created, currently in the finals again for this, young games designer. We've got a student who set up their own technical company during lockdown to support, you know, virtual weddings and funerals and things like that. So it's there from a young age. I mean, there was another student who was working for the Glee Club as well. You know, it's not necessarily the ones who are making it big. So we always say not every musician wants to be on stage and be a live performer. You know, there's lots of different nooks and crannies and different parts of the industry and crossing over into the industries that, you know, that where the opportunities are. But, you know, because you've got that opportunity to explore it, and like Lucas, you know, moving into more of the media side of things, and you're moving on to university, aren't you? So that's something that Lucas has said that they were never could see themselves doing. We've got an events student. She started she just wanted to join the college. She didn't care which course she was doing. And she's told me that her family weren't really happy at the time about what she was doing because they couldn't see where it was going to lead, you know, doing an event production course. And she's now going to university to do events management. So, you know, it's given them pathways and given a future that they didn't see coming, essentially. And, you know, now she's got them fully on board. So that's great news.
Yeah, we've I know Think Higher have got quite a few. I won't do the stories justice if I tell them because I'm not close enough to those students to be able to talk about it. I do know though that this week they've had they call them their ambassadors now. So they've gone through the Think Higher program and they're actually now employed by Think Higher to be ambassadors for the program as well. And some of those students they were speaking at a UN conference this week. Wow. Which, I mean, in terms of when you look at, you know, where they've come on their journey and how they've now got this confidence to be able to do that, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. We have quite a lot of students who just on a smaller scale do give an indication about how some of the projects have changed their mind about the things that they look at. So we did a STEM enterprise competition during lockdown, actually. And some of those students from doing something hands-on, which I know we've been talking about a lot, but I think STEM is one of those industries as well that is just not really spoken to young people about enough, really. But some of those students had no idea what actually STEM meant, what becoming an engineer might be like. They had this vision that it meant that you were in overalls and you were going to be going out and getting dirty every day. And then we sent some materials out to them. We had some support from employers to pay for this stuff as well. And we sent these things out. And then at the end of it, the student said, I want to be an aviation engineer at the end of all of this. I had no idea that that was even a job. And now this is what I want to do. So much kind of smaller scale in terms of impact over a short amount of time. But to be able to just be able to say a young person has learned what jobs in aviation are for them. I mean, that's quite nice impact from our point of view.
Thank you. Hannah, would you say you've had any success stories coming out of your business?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I only joined the Brilliant Club a couple of months ago, so similarly, I'm not sure that I'm able to do the stories justice, but I know the statistics are phenomenal for kind of people who are on the program throughout high school and in comparison to those who aren't able to join the program in terms of how many people then actually end up going to university and kind of the focus of the Brilliant Club is also the kind of very top tier universities, and it's really stark when you kind of see the difference in students who are kind of told early on that that's an option for them and somewhere where they're going to belong and thrive, and then
Hello, Hannah? Is she paused for everybody else too? Sorry. Hi,
Am
we
I
can
coming
hear you
through?
now. Now, yeah,
Okay,
you are.
sorry about that. Great.
It's
I was
okay.
going to say, have a look at the brilliant. Oh, no. Sorry, I'm coming in and out. I'll go on mute.
Oh, sorry about that.
No.
But yeah, to hear everybody's success stories is like wonderful, especially to hear that like the universities and people are finding out that they can and they are able to get there. Like I wish I had that when I was in college and school, honestly, because I wanted to go to uni and the option just never, as far as me feeling like I'm not academic, I was just like, no, that's not an option. And I'm really glad as well that you guys at Access, like when I went there, the alumni that we were taught about were people that we want to be like Ed Sheeran and Rita Ora. But I'm so glad that you guys spoke about people who are still successful, but they're not global, because it's important for us to know that it's not always about becoming the next Ed or the next Beyonce or, you know, the next Elon Musk. Sometimes it's just about knowing where you stay and what success is to you. So thank you. That all of those answers are just beautiful. So moving forward, like what would you recommend for young people who didn't like school and didn't really take to learning, but they love to educate themselves, they love to, like, you know, Google searches and YouTube? What would you give them as some advice?
I'd say if you know what your passion is, just go for it. I think a lot of people, especially in the creative industries, know that they kind of know what they love, but they don't know that there is a pathway to actually go and do that as a career. So I think if if the education system isn't for them, and if they don't want to go into college or university because it's not for everyone, it's still good for them to like keep doing that research, because in there somewhere they will find that there is like a place for them to go down for a career path, and they will kind of find a way to get there. They'll under all of that, under all of the Google searches, they will discover something, and it will be like a light bulb moment, because that's
Mm.
kind of what happened with me. I was researching into like the music business, and it all just kind of clicked, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense now. So if people just keep going for it, they'll kind of get there eventually.
Yeah, echoing what Lucas said, research and you know, even if you're not sure about whether you should go and visit, try and have a look around lots of different places, because you go with your gut, really. I mean, obviously at Access we are very unique in the fact that we're a smaller college. You know, it's that sort of different environment to school where, you know, there's no uniform. You're everyone's an individual, and your tutors are you know, your mates, as well as you know, educating you and things like that. And that's not for everyone. But neither is sixth form, neither is, you know, your local college that's down the road. Sometimes you've got to go out of your comfort zone. And you know, if you do find somewhere that's worth exploring, do go and have a look around. We put on different events that are nothing to do with an open day. We'll do things like under 18 open mic nights. So, you know, you're interested in music, but you don't see it as a career path. But, you know, maybe you just want to come along and try that out, or a gaming day or stuff like that. You know, it is just about taking that opportunity to go and have a look around. I mean, schools are getting better with their careers guidance now. You know, we go out, one of my main job is to go out to different careers events and schools and things like that, to sort of spread the word. So it's great to be able to tell young people who've never heard. I mean, I had one yesterday, you know, talking to them, you can turn your passion for gaming into a career, and they were like, what? But, you know, it's obviously, you know, being able, they've got to have access to knowing about us. But yeah, do your research. There is a way of turning your passion into your future, you know.
Yeah, I completely echo that. And I think generally like whilst also looking at colleges and so many different options, I think it's also really worth looking into like traineeships. So something that the work that I kind of got into publishing was a traineeship where you don't need to have gone to university, you don't need to be from like a specific type of background to get on. And the kind of idea is that you're working and you're being paid for your role, but you're also learning alongside and you're kind of gaining the skills on the job. And that might be something that's kind of, just slightly more suited to what you're interested in and the way that you like to learn. But I think definitely, as Gemma was saying, it's kind of just looking at all of those different options and making sure that you're really doing yourself justice and really like exploring all of them and not kind of discounting yourself from any of them, and also not kind of discounting them as options for you.
I think the only thing I would recommend young people do that I don't think has been mentioned is getting themselves a mentor as well. There are so many organisations out there that offer mentoring programs and that completely look after the safeguarding side of things as well, and that will connect you with someone who is either doing something already, they're already in the industry that you're particularly interested in, but also can just help guide students on that journey. And I do think you don't know what you don't know. And so a lot of students will, if you're keen to learn, but you don't know exactly what it is that you need to learn next, having a mentor can really help guide you through that process. And it's something I really wish I knew about when I was, at school age, just leaving school age, that there are so many of these schemes out there to help young people. So just do your research and have a look what's out there, what's available and what's free for you to take advantage of, really.
Great, thank you. So really now just wrapping up and just thanking you guys so much for being here and giving us the answers to all of these many questions about how do we really get our power from education. Just leaving, I want to ask you guys, have you got any final thoughts or any ways that you can give to the young people so they know how to get involved? Maybe anyone who wants to come to Access College, how would they do that? Or anyone who wants to work with the Brilliant Club or Think Higher, how would they, manage to get in contact with you guys?
If you want to find out more about Access, you can have a look on our website, www.accesscreative.ac.uk. We've got open days coming up. We've got an open day on the 3rd of July. We will be doing virtual events as well over the next few months. So if there's any year 11 students or above that are looking to join us or even interested in coming to have a look around, get in touch and we can organise a meet and greet and a viewing and things like that. And just what I've said before, just think about what you're passionate about, what you enjoy, the sorts of, the things that you want from a job aside from money. Think about what you want a job to give you and see how you can, build a career pathway around those sorts, because there's definitely options out there for you.
Yeah, I think I'd say to have a look at the Brilliant Club website. There's some really great resources on there that you can access. And as well on the Penguin website, if anything that I kind of said around the curriculum and representation connected with you, there's some youth outreach work that's going to come up quite soon, which will be a way that you'd be able to get involved in that as well, if that's something that you feel excited about.
Thank you.
In terms of the Uni Connect programme, it's a nationwide programme, and the likelihood is that students may well be part of it, even if they might not be aware of it. And so my advice would be to speak to their teachers in the first instance to find out, but also just to get online, have a look at. There's so many different providers that offer live streams now, things like this, to talk to you about writing personal statements. Follow UCAS on Twitter. They post these things all the time. Have a look, all these amazing different resources in terms of getting information that you need to know to get yourself into HE. So just mainly follow UCAS, have a look, see if you're part of the Uni Connect programme by talking to your teachers.
Okay, thank you. So, altogether, just are there any final things you'd just like to make sure that the young people who are watching today walk away with, and just something, tidbits to remember, I guess?
I think just kind of, we've said this a few times already, but just a reminder, I guess, that your exam results aren't everything. And yes, they're important, but it's more important to find out about yourself, what you're interested in, what do you want to do in the future, and plan from there. Don't plan everything around what results you get at the end of the day. And look at yourself and what you're interested in, and go from there.
Thank you.
Just to carry on with what Emma said, don't try and plan too far in the future either. You know, you're going to have about 50, 60 years of working. Just focus on, you know, the things that are in front of you. Once you've done your exams, let them go, and then just start to, you know, like Emma says, think about who you are and what you want to do.
I can come in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just remembering, to follow what you're excited about, and don't discount yourself. Your voice is valid from however young you are now. Like, this isn't just aimed at people who are like thinking about higher education right now or further education, but your voice and your interests are completely valid and worth exploring at any age and at any stage.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming on and just giving us all of the advice and the insight into, you know, the power of further education. It's been really great for me to sit here and be a part of this. Honestly, like, it's just great to hear that now people are thinking about how to make it better for young people, and how we can all actually find pathways into what we really want to do. So thank you all for coming on. And for anyone who is watching, don't forget that we have more workshops coming up on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So to follow the Lyfeproof Instagram page, and to keep in touch with the Summer Careers Festival and the hashtag Find Your Future campaign. So thank you all for being here and for giving us all of this insight. And I wish you all a lovely day. Thank you.